Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. Happy hump day to everybody out there. It's Wednesday morning. Is it Wednesday already? Is it summer yet? Is it fall? What year is it? 2023? Everything's just flying by in my world. Oh, so much to talk about, so much to do. We've got Bekah Martinez making the news as she spills some tea, now that she's off contract, about producers that held Crystal against her will. Not Bekah. Bekah tells the story of how they held Crystal against her will. And other contestants, we'll get into this. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals if you want to see my behind-the-scenes construction of my new backyard. I just added a sun sail. If you can tell, there's a little bit of a yellow sort of tint to me today. It's because I put a sun sail up over my window. And now I'm getting, even with my LED lights, I'm getting a nice little faux tan happening here. No, that's not the same spray tan Madison Pruitt uses. That's just a nice little sun sail coming in, which is what we use in Southern California to not perish underneath 100-degree heat. Okay, Bekah Martinez, here she is. Let's get into it. Follow me on Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal for behind-the-scenes bonus content. I'm going live pretty much every day. Come on, it's the best value for your buck. Under $5 a month if you want to join. There it is. Okay, so let's get into it. She's got a TikTok. She's sharing the tea. This is the way it's done. If you have tea you need to share and you're an alumni, do it on your own social media. Do it on your own YouTube. Make sure that you profit off of it. That's why, okay, so anyway, here she is.
Years ago for saying too much, but now I'm off contract, so it doesn't really matter. I've
Tell
already
us.
talked about this a lot on my podcast, but we could talk about how Crystal was basically held against her will during filming, how the Bachelor Mansion really kind of sucked, or, how producers are simultaneously your best friend and they also manipulate you into doing wild, stupid shit on camera.
Yeah, they're not your friend. They're your boss. And we need to learn this, right? We need to learn this with all of our jobs that we have out there. There's a big movement for workers' rights. I thought we solved this about 100 years ago, right, with unions. But your boss is not your friend. They are your employer. They can be friendly with you, but you need to make sure that they see you as a commodity. And when you no longer serve their need, they will can you. What does that mean? Do we need to be cynical? No, it means we need to invest in ourselves. We need to get out there and find value in what we do and have skills that can't just be wiped away due to automation and other things. This is going to be a big, thing happening in the coming years here that people are going to be, have their livelihood wiped away for the bottom dollar. Capitalism, baby. All right, so let's keep this party going.
You're on The Bachelor. They take your phone, they take your credit cards, they take your passport, ID, everything. When you're at the airport, you can't even go to the bathroom without a producer chaperoning you. So according to Crystal, when she said she wanted to go home, they were like, how are you going to get in contact with anyone? How are you going to buy a plane ticket? You don't have your cards, you don't have your ID. And I 100% believe her. I don't know if you remember Colton's infamous fence jump on his season, but he went on NPR and basically said the same thing. He said that he wanted to leave, that he was done, and producers said they weren't going to give him his phone back, his cards back, and that's why he just bolted. He just started running with no plan. It's fucking wild. When
it
you're
is
on The Bachelor,
it is pretty wild out there, and not to trigger warning Colton, but yeah, he says after Cassie broke up with him the first time, he grabbed his wallet and took off his mic with the intent to run away. Yeah, since he didn't have his mic on him, they had no way of tracking him. Luckily, he's found ways to work around that. To escape, he jumped the fence. To his surprise, no one was there. No producers, no crew, no food tents, nothing. He was alone for 2 hours. When Colton realized he had nowhere to go, he turned himself into producers. Yes, that's the wording Colton uses. Now, he got a good little running start. He was out there, and there's remember Chris Harrison? He was like, Colton, and then Colton's like, it's not me. And then they finally found him. But this reminds me of The Truman Show, right? So it's the producers have to create a few. I'm not going to spoil it, but you got to watch The Truman Show. Did you guys like this movie? Okay, I'll just give you the basic synopsis here without spoiling anything. Jim Carrey lives a life where everyone around him is an actor, and he doesn't realize that's his fake life because it's the only life he lives, till he picks up on clues, and then it's a 24-hour live stream, so he finally comes up with some plan to maybe break free, and the whole world's cheering him on. That's where we'll leave it for you guys. With Colton, maybe his story didn't end so heroically, as we know how that all went down. But when it comes to them taking your passports, I don't mean to make this into a serious topic, but that's normally what we do. This article is from 5 years ago. Why are migrant workers' passports still being held hostage in the UAE? And this happens all over. We don't need to get into the article, but basically, companies will hire people to come in and work for them, and then they'll take their passport and they'll say, we'll put you up in a place and this and that. And then they become an indentured servant, which is a slave, essentially. And they say, all right, when you pay off your debt, you can have your passport back when you do all these things. And then they pay them low wages, and maybe they get injured or they work them really hard and they don't have the right healthcare benefits. And look, we live in what is supposed to be the richest, sort of most, I should say the richest first world country to ever exist. We have billionaires innovating, but we also have a shrinking middle class. We have people that can't afford healthcare. We have people dying because they don't just go to the hospital to get treatment when they have simple problems that then can escalate. So many issues in our country with education that's just really below levels. I mean, I couldn't imagine when I studied abroad in France. This is back in the day when I was 2 years old. When I studied abroad in France in college in 2005, 6. I could not believe how the Europeans ran laps around me with knowledge of how the political system worked. We're just not educated. So very much like the Truman Show, you don't know what you don't know. So when I look at people that don't know that the Confederacy was not just about states' rights and it was about slavery, when people come from states that don't teach sex education, so they don't know proper contraceptives. You don't know what you don't know. When we talk about ignorance regarding other issues, you don't know what you don't know. And then when you do know, you look back and you said, how could I not know that? Because we're controlled in a way where information should be easily shareable. But if you look at any of those documentaries on war and jets or Scientology or different cults that exist out there, even with unfettered access to everything in the world, we still have these biases that we keep due to manipulation. And that exists with workers and workers' rights. I mean, I hate to even bring this topic up, but a tragedy is happening in Texas right now. Not Uvalde, that was another tragedy, but finding 50 plus people dead in an 18-wheeler trailer because they were coming to the United States to pursue freedom, a freedom that they believed they would have when they get here, and they were left abandoned in a trailer in the hot Texas sun. Now, how does this all tie together back to Bachelor? Look, it doesn't. It really doesn't. But we look at The Bachelor and we find and probe and poke for different social issues that we can talk about here. Because I know my audience is all across the spectrum, from progressive to ultra conservative. And I have to remind everybody that the human sort of spirit, we are way more dimensional than just left versus right. So if you ever feel like you have to take all the sides of one party because you're against another, let's start rejecting that. Let's start rejecting that and thinking for ourselves. We need to open up our country and our world to better education. We need to spend more money on letting people know what the truths are in this world and how that they have rights, right? We need to live in a world where late-stage capitalism, which we talk about all the time, and none of this is planned. We just rail on this nonstop. Late-stage capitalism is the idea that you just let businesses run wild, right? With some regulations, and that's the best way for efficiencies with regards to, when you create incentives for profit, that's where you get the best of the best, right? That's what we have in the USA. NASA wasn't doing anything for years, and then all of a sudden SpaceX and old boy, Jeff, not Probst, what's the guy? Bezos, all these short guys with that ball. Anyway, he comes in and he builds a rocket shaped like a dick and shoots it right into Mars, right? Not quite yet, but the point being, and again, capitalism, when we talk about it, doesn't work well when the government has to bail it out. The airline industry, even Amazon, right? All these other industries have to be bailed out. I'm supposed to be flying abroad in a couple days, and I don't even want to book. We haven't booked our hotel yet because we're just assuming the flights might get canceled. We don't know what's going on out there. Rather than blame one political party versus the other, we need to surgically look at our different politicians and how they're voting and how we can better elect officials to take care of us, middle class, because there's nothing worse than a bunch of middle or lower middle class people thinking that they're going to become billionaires, so they side with unfettered capitalism. It ain't working. How does it tie back to Bachelor? We'll get there. It ties back to Bachelor because we've given these producers so much power, they literally take away people's passports, and you might say, well, look, are these contestants contestants really migrant workers? Well, not really, but I'll say this. The contestants of The Bachelor work for free. In a world where we rely so much on a social credit system, we rail on China for their social credit system, and we live in the land of the free. But what's so important to us? Building a following. Don't get me wrong. This isn't to knock any other countries. We all have this problem. But companies like TikTok purely exist to create a sense of wonder when somebody goes viral. So they'll keep creating content, keep pushing it out there. Hopefully everyone will love me so I can keep going viral. And then that's exactly what we have on The Bachelor. This sort of post-social media world where not only do the contestants work for free, because they're creating entertainment, but at the same time, they're expected to deliver. And if they don't deliver, even if they have a villain edit, the producers say, hey, stick around, don't speak out. We'll try to get you on Bachelor in Paradise. Sounds pretty wonky to me. I mean, let me know what you guys think about all this. But kudos to Bekah for speaking out about it, the different scenarios in which they're literally held against their will, manipulated. Look, I don't think the contestants will ever be a part of a union, but I am. I'm part of the Screen Actors Guild. And if I'm on a movie set where somebody's smoking because they want smoke, ambient smoke in the scene, I get paid more. If I'm on a movie set where there's certain conditions, like we're working late into the night, I get paid more. If it starts raining and I get wet, I get paid more. This is the protection of being in a union. So when we see Starbucks and all these other companies starting to unionize, this is a good thing. Companies are going to spend a lot of money to create a PR campaign that unions are bad. It is not a bad thing that employees get a livable wage. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment. We'll talk in a little bit. Live stream, 10 a.m. You like capitalism, baby? Join the patreon.com/DaveNeal. Bye, everybody.